Welcome to this week's Spinfoil Theory. We're about to take a dive into the lore of Destiny the game. Specifically, we'll be giving a high-level scrutiny to popular, emerging, and outlying theories, then judging them. With that out of the way, let's put on our Spinfoil hats and get a little crazy. Here comes this week's show. And now we're recording. The magic of sound.
Now everyone can actually hear me. Woo!
Now in super soundo hearing. I wanted to say vision real bad there. Yeah. Technicolor sound coming to you live.
I don't think that's how sound works. I don't think you're from Taylor's office.
From Taylor's basement. Oh man, we're gonna need a new lead in for that.
Yes. Alrighty.
Oh, guys. Welcome to the Spinfoil Theory podcast. We are your hosts. This is LedyLucida, Taylor, and LadyLucida. How are you doing, Lucy?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little nervous and excited for this Monday because that's when I start my new job at Bungie. Yes. You guys did hear correctly. Yes. I do, or Lucy, myself, me. Wow, English hard. I work at Bungie now as a contract generalist tester, which basically means I help quality assurance and that sort of thing. It's not like, oh, I get to play video games all day. It's a lot more complicated than that, and people need to not harp on QA so much, because without QA, video games wouldn't get made, period. So,
QA, a lot of stuff wouldn't get made.
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
They just get made very badly.
Yeah, they would just get made very badly, and it would not be a good time. If it weren't for QA, your games and a lot of products would just be really bad. But that's besides the point. I'm really excited. I get to start work.
Congratulations.
But some people might be wondering, but Lucy, if you work at Bungie, what does that mean about the podcast? It's fine. I already talked to my boss about it. I talked to HR about it. That was like one of the first questions I asked. I was like, hey, I have a podcast. Does this mean I can still do it? And they're like, yes, you can. Just no talking about NDA stuff. And I'm like, cool, I can do that. So yeah.
Yeah, and what's great about this show is even if you slip up, just be like, hey, Taylor B, we actually can't talk about that. I'll be like, oh, edit.
I'll just be like, my favorite word is gonna be redacted. Or no comment. Or silence. Those are just gonna be my favorite words from now on, because don't get me wrong, I'm gonna still talk about the lore. I'm still gonna be a part of the podcast. Mm-hmm. It's just there might be specific things we don't talk about on the show because I have future knowledge. I don't want to.
And you'll never be sure which things those are because we won't talk about them.
It's gonna be crazy though. It kind of reminds me of that scene where Will Smith and the Men in Black, and he sort of goes into his office for the first time. You just sees like aliens everywhere. Just like, so this is how the world runs. You're gonna be going in there and just being like, everything I knew about Destiny was completely a lie.
Awesome. I hope not completely everything. I'm just excited because I think I know what I'm working on. I think I have a hint. I have a guess, but I can't say. It's a secret. But
so
you guys don't get to know. No one else gets to know. I get to know, and I'm excited.
So sorry for that teaser.
Sorry. Well, that's it. That's all you guys get to know. Is I know what I'm working on, and I'm excited, but you guys don't get to know. Sorry, sucks to be you.
I can dig it.
My girlfriend, she gets to know. She gets to know because she lives with me. So she's also under NDA. So
I can dig it.
It works that way. So that was one of the things I asked. I was like, so what happens if like my girlfriend accidentally walks in the office when I'm working on stuff? Will I die? Not literally die, but like, will I get in trouble? And they're like, nah. I'm basically, if my girlfriend ever says anything, they'll know it was me, and then I will be sued into oblivion and blacklisted from every gaming company known to man. Basically, just don't. Just no.
Possibly cursed.
And cursed. No more exotics. No more good loot. Forever. Gone.
Oh, is that part of the contract? Like,
error code Baba Yaga.
Error code Baba Yaga. No, not literally part of my contract. Where if I.
Oh, I mean, do you have like some perks on the job? You're gonna like get, new exotics to playtest before
As
everyone
a
else.
playtester, you do get to play with stuff before the public does. So, like, I know for, like, this is not me breaking NDA or talking, but, like, there are people who work on the raids and dungeons. So they get to play the raids and dungeons before the public. That's what I want to do eventually. I think that'd be really cool.
That would be
Because I'm
very
good
cool.
at raids and dungeons. Those are my favorite things. Especially raids. Raids are my favorite. I love raids.
What do you think of the new raid, lady?
I really like Vow of the Disciple. It's probably one of my favorites. I mean, it really depends. I mean, I've done it now a bajillion. Not a bajillion. I think I've done it like 10 times now. 3 times every week. No, I did it 4 times last week, so that doesn't count. I've done it a lot. And I really like it. I like it's a little bit more mechanic heavy.
Yeah, it is.
Now that contest is off and I beat it on contest, I can pretty much do the raid with my eyes closed. Pretty much. The only thing that was annoying was doing like the static triumphs, like, oh, every person has to stun caretaker on every floor. That was annoying. Actually, that one wasn't that bad. The other ones were annoying.
Yeah, it's
But
funny
like-
actually, because the one me and my team have been like, the first one was always the easiest, like breeze to get past, and now that we were trying to do both the triumph and the challenge, I was trying to do it.
Yeah, we just did one.
I was-
We just did one and then the other. We just did, because we did the same thing. We tried to do both the weekly challenge and
It's
the static
painful.
triumph, and we're like, no, we can't do both. We can't do both, man. Just pick one. So we did the challenge to get the extra loot, and then we just reset and just redid the intro part again. And then
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
that's what we did. So then, like, everyone still got the double loot, but then we just kept going and did all the challenges. The Rhulk challenge, the wording of it is really tricky. Because it says, oh, just double deposit, but your last deposit, you can't. Because normally what we do is you can't have any lingering
The leeching
force.
stuff. Yeah.
The leeching, yeah, you can't have any more of any of the leeching stuff at the end, otherwise it won't count. Because
Yeah.
it's like, but it doesn't say that in the wording, so we tried it like 5 times. We're like, what are we doing wrong? What the heck? And then we ended up watching a YouTube video, and they were like, oh yeah, dudes, don't have any leeching right before you go to DPS. And we're like, oh. And then once we did that, bam, got it, easy, done. So I think we're all caught up now, except the rest of the weekly triumphs, and of course Master when that comes out. That'll be interesting, I think, because
Yeah. Do you reckon we'll get? I was talking to my friend about this, but we're not going to get like adept weapons because we've got the crafting.
No, we will.
We
There
will.
is adept weapons. There is adept weapons already in the API, so... But they are not craftable, which doesn't make any sense. Like, why would I go after an adept pulse rifle when I can craft literally a god roll one that's perfect for PvP versus the adept one where I can put an adept mod. Ooh.
Well, what I was thinking is that they could have done is that if once you get the adept weapon, that it would be like a similar thing that you could get the pattern and you could make a craftable weapon adept.
An adept
'Cause, I mean,
one.
let's be honest. The only
Maybe.
real...
That would be really cool. That would be cool. But yeah, I kind of agree. I'm not sure. I mean, it's in the API and it says that's not craftable, but as we've seen before, stuff in the API isn't always 100% concrete. Like, heck, every exotic in the API has a catalyst. But in-game, not every exotic has a catalyst. Like, Anarchy doesn't have a catalyst. 1K doesn't have a catalyst.
I feel like Anarchy needs a catalyst.
Oh, God. That sounds broken.
Well, no one uses it. Everyone it was like only used that for ages, and yeah,
Then they
I don't know, I feel
nerfed
sorry
it.
for.
They-
I know it was
they
so
nerfed
good
it.
though. I just love, but it was in
They
every
nerfed
weapon.
it because
You
it like got a spike in usage because of breach and clear. They were like, you know what? It's gotten so much usage, we're gonna nerf it now. I mean, I know it was a lot of other reasons besides that, but I just thought it was kind of funny that breach and clear came out. Everyone was using Anarchy because it was really good before that, but now with breach and clear it was even better. And then after that, Bungie was like, "Welp, sorry gamers, we're nerfing this," which it's fine. I mean, it did, like I said, it was used a lot, you just slap it in front of a door, and then you don't have to worry about ads at all.
Yeah, and it could do ads and it could do boss damage.
Do
So
boss
you could be
damage,
like,
which is
2 on the
something-
boss, 3 on the ads. I'm done. I'm just gonna chill here and emote.
Set it and forget it.
That's it.
Like a Ronco. I'm going to jump in, though, real quick, because I'm a terrible host. Guys, we have a guest on this show, if you didn't know already. His name is LettuceDifferent. You may remember him from I don't remember what number it was, but you may remember him from a show in the past here. He is the science man of our Destiny lore and the greater Destiny 2 lore community, and he was recently, one of his articles was recently featured by Paul Tassi in Forbes.
Yeah.
That was crazy. I was like, what? That's cool.
So
That was cool, though.
welcome back to the show, Lettuce. How have you been?
I'm good, thanks for having me. I've been really good. I've been very busy with all the new content that's come out in Witch Queen. So, yeah. But, yeah, I can't believe it's been, like over a year ago now?
Has it been that long?
Almost a year ago. I think it was in, like, sort of the middle of the year last year. But, yeah, it's just crazy. A lot has happened, a lot of particularly in Destiny. So, yeah, I've been pretty busy with. Normally, I wait for like a break in Destiny playing before I really start getting into the lore and that. But but I'm really enjoying all the lore that's, I mean, as expected, as you'd expect from like a Savathûn expansion. It really has turned everything on its head. It's sort of the truth has actually, there's more questions now than there are answers, I feel. Would you agree?
I think so. I mean, maybe, especially with Savathûn's whole 2 truths, 2 lies sort of thing that she does. I think we're gonna have an episode on that where we just like dive in and into investigate that. I think that's our next episode. Well,
yeah, that'll be the next one we record. From the time of
we record, not the next one that's
recording.
released, because
we got a
we're
new format
recording
coming,
these.
guys.
We're recording out of order, but that's besides the point. But yeah,
we can do that through the trickery of editing.
Face magic.
So what do you guys think about there was one truth, I think it was in the first week, where she mentions about we would have the power to move
worlds. Yeah.
Ooh.
I'm not sure, cause like the power to move worlds, that's obviously a darkness thing, because the darkness, moved the worlds wherever it put them.
But they suspect that's how the Traveler terraformed and changed every planet that they visited.
Maybe. What's interesting
Back in Alpha Lupi.
is if we can get the power to move worlds, why don't we just take Earth and the Traveler and put it in a little pocket dimension so the Witness can't get to it? Problem solved.
Because I suppose the last time that happened didn't turn out so great.
It didn't turn out so good. Yeah, I know. But I was just thinking, like, if we can do this, what would happen?
Oh, that's interesting. Does the Witness care, you think, about pocket dimensions? Because, I mean, even if they win, they really lose because they're still the distributary. And they're not really the final shape. Well, really not really.
Well, it's interesting because from what I've been reading, the Witness was, and you don't quote me on this, but the Witness created the Savathûn's throne world and basically loaned it to her.
Yep.
And essentially she was imprisoned in a way.
Yeah. Do you think the Witness, or I guess the aspect of throne worlds themselves, are just the Witness basically loaning the Hive that power, so to speak. And they don't actually, they can't, like, basically they reach some criteria and the witness is like, okay, here you go, you now have a loan of a throne world. Here you go.
Well, I think that's exactly sort of how it works. I think the nature of the darkness is that once you sort of prove yourself, because let's be honest, the darkness is kind of like this, like, almost this ultra,
yeah.
I was about to say ultra capitalist, but in a way it's like
pyramid scheme.
it is. It's like survival of the fittest, and it's kind of like, okay, you know, like Lady starts a new job at Bungie, and then, you know, she's, you know, for a while she's got to meet all the deadlines, you know, but as she rises up the ranks, eventually she gets some perks. She gets her own office space, and once she gets that office space, she can sort of avoid some of, like, the, you know, like, you know, when she gets a cushy position, if she does something wrong, it's like, I'm going back to my office, you know, she can just go back and you can sort of avoid some of the pitfalls that would happen to, like, the lower plebs in the business. That's sort of the way I see the darkness. It's kind of like,
yeah,
because someone
like
was saying, yeah, go on.
Go ahead. Go. No.
I was just going to say, someone was actually sort of, I remember this was on a Reddit post, and someone was saying, like, why is our throne world the darkness thing? You know, because you can, if you die, you basically can come back in your throne world. And someone was like, that sort of seems antithetical. And someone commented and said, well, with the differences of the light, it's not something you earn, it's just given, right? Whereas with the darkness, that's something that you earned. You know, you proved yourself through your might, you know, and sheer willpower. So, you know, you've been able to carve out this place in the Ascendant Realm, you know, through sheer willpower, and that is yours now. You know, you've earned that. So you have earned the right to sort of, you know, redeem yourself, and gain more power.
I think that's interesting, though. I mean, it kind of, I guess, I wouldn't say puts to rest, but kind of, I guess, because one of the things that kind of bothered me with Ascendant Plane, well, not the Ascendant Plane, but, like, Throne Worlds in general, was, like, there's not really a set criteria, so to speak. Like, you can be an Ascendant Hive and not have a Throne World. Like, Crota's sisters, for example. I would say they're powerful. I mean, they invented the Oversoul.
They could do and undo reality as Oryx's ship moved through it.
like they were pretty powerful, but do they have a throne world? I mean, if they had a throne world, you probably think they would have, you know, showed up by now. So they're probably perma-dead.
I would say, well, they hid their deaths in each other. That's why you had to kill both of them.
Yeah, I thought that, but I think that's actually not true. I think that is because remember that's
the Court of Oryx. The Court of Oryx.
Yeah.
Triplets. They hid their deaths in each other, not the daughters of Oryx. No, they didn't. I know they were the same larvae split in two by Oryx's sword, the Willbreaker.
Yes, that's right.
And Oryx was like, "Dang, you're still alive? Okay, you're cool. You're cool." But I think
they stole some tribute. Like, I think when they were attacking the gift mast, they kind of used that connection of them to not. I think they were just tithing each other so that they didn't have to share the tithe. And he was like, "Okay, well, your punishment is like." He punished them somehow because he worked out what they were doing.
Yeah, because there's the. Let's see, it's the. It's after Eater of. Was it? No, it's before Eater of Hope. Because Crota wasn't his first kid, was he? No. No, Crota's the eldest. That is correct.
Yeah. And then Nokris.
And Crota, the two daughters, and then Nokris, but
so Nokris was like the baby of the family.
The baby of the family, and he was still bullied. I feel bad for Nokris. I feel bad. I'm gonna give him a hug. I'm surprised that with all of as we've saw, in the light blade strike, a la cool. The light blade. I thought that was very funny.
I love the music as well when you first get in that room.
Yes, the music is so good.
Yeah, and I do like as well how Savathun basically made him in charge of looking after Oryx's temple, and Oryx was the one who basically sealed him away in
Yeah, I
in the
think it's very
Dreadnought.
ironic. But like,
Yeah.
what's interesting though is Savathun went out of her way to go get Alakul, which Alakul's in the Dreadnought. That's kind of a big detour, I think. I mean, I guess maybe not.
Well,
because...
didn't we kill him though?
Yeah, we killed him. We killed him. So that's why I'm like,
Well,
she would have to get his
maybe.
corpse. She would have to get his corpse and bring
or
it
his
to her throne world.
essence, his essence, I
Or
mean,
his
she's done that.
essence, yeah.
She's
Yeah, she has done that
with,
before. In the Inquisition of the Damned lore, she did help, kind of, at the end there with some essence swapping, I guess, call it that. But what's interesting is, I don't know, I just feel kind of bad, because, like, Nokris just kind of, I mean, yeah, he was a pawn for Savathun, but I think if he came back, he would use self-res, because he's a necromancer. He's bringing himself back to life. And he'd be a really annoying shrine boss. Because you'd kill him, and then he'd come back. And then you'd kill him, and then he'd come back. And you'd be like, how many times do I have to teach you this lesson, dude?
I feel like he might come back, though, as...
Yeah,
one
like,
lesson,
I could...
Because...
Maybe. He did
there
have
was a
devotion and bravery?
Well, there was also a bit in, when he sort of gets spirited away to her false court, and he's standing in front of the big blight that's actually a thrall, and she actually says to him, like, I forget the exact word, but it's sort of implied that he was sort of bonded to her, like that she would remember him, and I kind of almost thought, like, does that mean that maybe he's secured himself a place in her new light, because if other people can if Alakul can...
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. Like, if Alakul can get a place there, then I don't see why Nokris or even Oryx's daughters, if they are actually permanently dead. I really hope not. I just thought their design was really cool, because they're like the only hive that has those weird pyramid heads. I haven't seen anything like it since. Which I guess makes sense because the daughters of Oryx.
Oh,
Both of
yeah,
them, they
yeah,
had like this
yeah.
like very weird pyramid shape, which now kind of, I think it's kind of funny that they had pyramid heads when the big giant bad of Destiny is the giant pyramids. I'm just like, wow, Bungie really does think through everything. Or maybe
it was just like Hive Halloween, and they were just wearing the little mask. Just the little pyramid head.
Maybe. I'm not sure. I think I don't know. I mean, like, they were definitely, I think, loyal to the sword logic. I don't really know if they didn't really, I mean, they did devotion. They were devoted to their father, or the sword logic, but all Hive are devoted, so, like, that doesn't really, I guess that means that, yeah,
from what I understand, just having the devotion and bravery and sacrifice, like, because you're right, anyone could have done that, but I feel like there was a reason why Savathun was trying to get rid of her worm. And maybe, like, a sacrifice isn't just any sacrifice. Like, getting rid of your worm.
Your worm. That's like a big, like, it has to be a big sacrifice, not
but
just
there's
like,
also, yeah, but there's also the idea that maybe in order for it to work, she had to get rid of her worm.
Anyways.
As well.
Yeah, I
yeah.
feel like she has to, because what's interesting, when you're out patrolling the throne world or doing really anything with the Lucent Brood, you headshot them, they still have their worms. You headshot a lucent brood, or a loose, like an actual light bearer guy. They don't have a worm. So my guess is to become like an actual light bearer hive, my guess is they go through something, and they die, and when they come back, they don't have a worm anymore. I don't want to say like some like ritual to remove their worm, because in the exotic glaive lore, it's really kind of funny. Savathun is rezzed, and Maru kind of gives her the TLDR of who the heck she is. She's like, okay. And then her right hand shows up and says, don't worry, Savathun, we'll fix everything. And like, I'll explain everything. And they kind of go back to her ship. And she's like, oh, okay. I'm just going to follow you guys. She doesn't know anything. So she just follows them and goes back to her throne world. And she's like, okay, I need to make a plan to get my memories back, which is what she ends up doing. But one of the things she does is she gives this speech to what's left of her brood. And she's like, I love you all. This is why I'm doing this. And then she just straight up just throws a Nova Bomb at her right hand. And then the right hand just comes back as a risen. And she's like, don't worry, guys. See? We've got this. And it's just like, I'm paraphrasing a lot. But I just thought that lore entry was so funny. I think it's the exotic... I know it's one of the exotic glaives. There is a specific order to like that you read them. I think it goes Warlock, Titan, Hunter.
I think the worms are, I don't want to say evolving, but metamorphosing into the moths.
Oh, that is true. You do have the moths that are like growing in the hive because the hive, their bodies aren't used to the light at all. They're like, it's like adding a new substance
to your
body.
About the light moths that are flying around?
Yes, we do know that those are a result of hive biology mixing with the light. We know that.
And
where is that lore stated? What?
That's in Lucent Tales.
The Lucent Tales lore book.
And then later in Lucent Tales, I think like last week's moths that you pick up, and they're all on Ishtar, listeners. But later, you also learn that the worms in the Lucent Hive are being sated.
Yeah, they're being
They're being fed. They're not feeding on them anymore, and they're being identified as like storing light. I'm sorry, you were saying, Lucy?
No, that's basically what I was saying. Is that like the worms that are in the hive are basically being like, kind of, I wouldn't say like dormant.
It's pretty rad.
But like they're not like forcing the hive to kill anymore. They can just kind of chill.
Because they're being fed.
Yeah.
Well, that's
being fed through the light instead of. I mean, that's kind of, we've known that before, with like the Books of Sorrow. That's why they went after the Gift Mass. That's why they're going after the Traveler. Oh, kind of. One of the many reasons why. But
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think one of the, because I remember I sort of was looking into how sort of Soulfire and that worked, and I sort of said it was essentially like a byproduct of the darkest power that was used to sort of free their victims of their light, and then that was how. So essentially, what that tithe was essentially light. So you were using darkness to free the light, and then steal that light, and then that's what you would sort of use. And it's interesting because all the Hive have done is they've essentially just switched from, using the darkness as the middleman to get the light to like, hey, we just use light now. It's actually powering all of their rituals. Like you said, it's feeding their worms. And I think in the last PsyOps mission, when you interrupt that ritual, you actually see that they're using the totems, and they're being powered by light, and you're actually...
By light. All of their stuff is being powered by light now, which I think is really fascinating.
But what's interesting is that was actually never really all that different. It was just where they got that tithe, where they got that light, was they actually had to kill, others. They had to steal it, because that's the whole idea of the darkness. And you even see this in the subclasses, like with stasis. Stasis is still, it's an energy, but it's stealing. It's not getting it from like its paracles or source. It's actually just stealing it from its environment. In order to do what it needs to do. And I feel like that's the main difference. Now they've got this reservoir of light that they can use to sort of do everything, but they can do everything they could do before, but they can do it without this need to, constantly. I suppose they can afford to be a bit more strategic now that they're not driven so much by not dying, I guess. They don't.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing because they do still seem to need to harvest it, right? We kind of learned that in the psyops too, because we go in there, it's like, oh yeah, that's where the last fire team went, and like, oh god, like they took all their light. Oh gee, and now it's in this battery, like nuts to those guys, blow it up. And what's another thing I found very interesting is a lot of the way that the battery is stored, like those big swinging things. You realize like that's all like stored light energy, and it reminds me of the some of the Oversoul stuff back in Deep Water.
Yeah.
But just I don't know if it's like a 1-to-1 thing, but just like the way it looks, just kind of like, oh, pretty. But it's really interesting that they seem to be full, like it's not compelling them anymore, and they kind of also have this promise of, well, if you do die, you might get risen.
Yeah, you might. It's just like, yeah.
Which I mean, it's gotta change their whole religion.
Yeah, to one of devotion and bravery.
Well, I think that's where you start to get one of Lucy's favorite entries. You start to get the Hive guardian who didn't kill the Earth Ghost.
The I guess human guardian. Yeah, basically he kills the guardian. And we're guessing it's a ghost. We're not really sure who is speaking to this Hive guardian, light bearer. But they're like, squish the ghost, squish it, kill it, do it. Like peer pressuring.
Yet.
Yeah, peer pressuring this poor little guy into squishing this Hive ghost, or this human ghost. I guess regular ghost? Whatever. Human ghost. And he just looks at it and instead is like kind of curious, like looking at like, this looks weird. Never seen a ghost like this before, and then lets it go.
Hesitates.
He lets it go. He's like, no, I don't want to squish it. I don't want it, man. So I'm just I'm just excited because hopefully, like I know Bungie's done this before in the lore, they tease little things. Little things here and there. And then eventually it's become like a season or something. I just really want Hive friends. Like I will literally throw money at Bungie. I just want some Lucent Brood armor. I mean, I know.
Well, you're a lot closer now to Bungie, so you can do that.
I am a lot closer. I can just be like, hey, Bungie.
Leave that in your feedback notes. This
Hey,
level's fine,
I have-
this level's fine, and we really need that Lucent Brood armor. If you could
Yes.
just...
Yeah, I'm just gonna casually slide them my 20-page dissertation. Not 20, it's more like probably a lot more. I haven't actually counted. I joke, I don't actually have a dissertation on Hive runes. But basically I just be like, hey Bungie, here's everything I've written on Hive runes, plus Python scripts that generate 10,000 of them. Here you go, you never have to make Hive runes ever again. Ta-da!
Because you generated some new ones as well.
Yeah, I generate new ones, old ones, fake ones. I think in total, there's I wrote all of this down. Please hold.
Imagine doing the Pit of Heresy though with 40,000 runes that you have to remember.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I'm I don't think Bungie is probably gonna
upside
add any more
down
runes.
triangle with the burger.
Yeah, because I think the problem, with Hive runes is they need to be recognizable, like an actual distinguishable shape, so that if they're used in activities, they are, players can distinguish them from another one.
What did you think of all the images in the latest raid? There were a lot of them.
There was a lot of them. 27? An amount,
Yeah.
and a lot. Like, a lot. I think they're really interesting. They're definitely... I like that when you aim down sights before the first encounter on that wall of symbols, or row of symbols.
Yeah.
It
actually
tells you what they
all that.
are. So then I had a feeling, like, as soon as I saw all these symbols, I'm like, oh my god, LFG for this raid is going to be a nightmare. But it's actually not that bad, because most people just use the standard callouts. Or if they do use weird names, they're like, hey, we mean this.
Yeah, it was funny because I sort of learnt like 5 different names for some of them. Like, you know, like Ascendant Plane, I've heard Throne World, Umbrella, I think...
Upside down Vex Head, I've heard that.
Hungarian
I'm like,
flag.
what? What? Yeah.
Cuphead. I think
For
people were just
Bulgaria?
calling worship Jesus.
Oh yeah. Worship is Jesus.
I've heard disappointed dad.
Yeah, there's definitely some interesting names, and some of them just make more sense as well than like the actual ones.
Mm-hmm.
We call. I think in my
I
group
like
we
Plateau.
call
Plateau,
we call stop square. 'Cause,
Yeah,
you know,
red.
it's just a red square. Like it's.
I think
pretty-
we were calling Give Devil.
Devil heads?
Yeah,
We call
and,
that bloody. I think we called that like blood hands or blood eyes or something with. Like, it looks like it's like crying blood.
I called it Make Up Ugly Cry.
Ugly crap.
Yeah, it's like they got the makeup on and they're ugly crying, so it's like running down their cheeks.
Man with a hole in his shirt.
Oh, we called that
Someone
guy.
called that depression.
We called that Cade.
No.
Yes, we called
he
that
got
Cade.
shot in
We
the
called-
face.
Whoa.
It doesn't
That's
matter.
a low
We don't
blow.
care. We a lot of people in my group are kind of glad Cade died because, and that's with most of us being hunter mains, because a lot of people, myself included, kind of think Bungie, like the writing in D2, at least year 1, up until Cade died, wasn't very good. Writing.
He got
wise.
very jokey, I think.
He got very
Yeah.
haha funny robot tee hee, and it was kind of
Same with
obnoxious.
Ghost.
Same with a lot. Like that's why I'm kind of hoping that eventually they vault all of the year 1 strikes. Please, their dialogue
Yeah.
is so cringe.
Mind
Please.
you, I do feel like our Ghost is a lot whinier than he used to be. Like I was playing some of the old strikes, like because they've got you know, like that Rasputin one and the one in the Cosmodrome, and you hear the old Ghost dialogue, and he just sounds like so much. I don't know. He sounds so much more suave. He's just like, you know. And now he's like, you know, you listen to the Cosmodrome, and it's like, you know, maybe I could fit in his backpack, you know, and he's just making little like wisecracks, and then you listen to him now, he's like, oh, he can't use stasis. He can't switch ghosts. Oh, how are you feeling? How are you dealing with this? You know, just like
He just goes straight to murder.
every
You
moment.
need to kill him. Kill him
Yeah.
on sight.
I thought it was really funny that like Forsaken and Beyond Light, the ghost is like, Guardian, are you sure you should be doing this? This is pretty bad. I don't know. To freaking Witch Queen, burn the heretics, kill them all.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
that fucking
he
that
did
meme.
saw those ghosts.
He did the same thing in the first one with like the darkness. He's like, oh, you know, I really don't like this idea of you using darkness, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, let's use darkness for good.
Fuck yeah.
Get him.
Yeah, no, that part scares
Shadow
me. Like,
dive
the
them.
more you use stasis, I remember because I got this dialogue on my hunter when I was just randomly patrolling on Europa. Maybe it was Titan. I don't remember which character. I was on one of my characters, and Ghost said, "Oh, with you using stasis, maybe eventually you won't need the light." And that scared me. I was like, Ghost. No. Do not drink
It's one
the
of
evil
his
Kool-Aid.
that's one of his
please."
dialogues before he starts to get reassured by you using it. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of his like middle of that journey
But yeah,
dialogues, I swear.
it was just like creepy that he was all like accepting of stasis. I mean, like I know
Yeah.
it's supposed to be a more gradual thing, and I kind of speed ran the campaign on my third character, but still, I hadn't heard that line before, like ever, and I just was like just patrolling Europa, doing my thing, working on Splintered, whatever title it was. And I got that line, I literally just stopped, and I was like, Ghost, did you just say what I think you just said, bro? Like, for real? Like, you good?
Imagine if our ghost.
Yeah,
just
say
like,
what you want. Dinklebot
"Hey,
never
Guardian,
did any of that stuff.
Maybe we don't need the light. Maybe we need salvation.
Oh, no. That's cursed.
Yeah, my headcanon, my OC is my guardian always makes his ghost to like after the first time it got taken over, like, you're just gonna wait outside, buddy. Oh, but what about you can't do shit in there anyway, it's a darkness zone. So why don't you just wait outside? You're messing with
Yeah.
your head. You get out of here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
You go have
kind
an
of
ice cream.
worried about, because that's happened like, what, 4 times now? I've lost track of how many times our ghost has been possessed by the darkness. I'm really worried that that's going to happen in
It
like
gets
Lightfall
it
or
was
Final
quite
Shape.
interesting though, because a lot of the theories that about the Witch Queens before it came out, a lot of them were thinking that the ghosts are feral or the crown of sorrow to kind of manipulate
Oh, yeah.
and whatnot, and then it turns out it's just peer pressure.
Peer pressure's one hell of a
Like,
drug.
But they really didn't
Pencil ghosts.
touch on the fallibility of ghosts. And
Ghosts,
the fact that
yeah, ghosts are
they
just
are
as fallible.
personalities. They're not perfect.
Yeah,
And
That's
also
what
that
I'm-
the traveler doesn't really care about humanity in the way that we.
we thought.
Well,
Yeah,
I
we-
mean, that's,
we
that's,
thought
that's all
for,
part
like,
of
a really
or
long
speaker
time.
propaganda.
Well, yeah, we still.
I'm sorry, Lucy. Yeah.
Yeah, we did. That was a lot of speaker propaganda still, but like the speaker kind of left out that last
Speaker
part that
misinformation.
the traveler will leave us. I don't think anybody else really knows that besides the speakers. Like,
Yeah, Ned, he sort of glossed over that one. But.
He kinda-
Ooh, Savathun knows it.
It's really interesting. Have you read The Shattered Sun's Law?
yes,
Yes.
So that was really interesting because they were basically the shimmering orb was the traveler, and basically kind of came to them. They evolved and then it left, and just sort of like so everything you can sort of see. There's what the witness's backstory is. He sort of like just looks at like the traveler comes and then leaves, and he sort of is. Comes to pick up the scraps later and like, it's because the traveller, left you. He elevated you all when you were really weak, and you can sort of interesting because he's sort of like, I don't know where that matches the timeline. It's like he's showing Rhulk memories and forcing him to relive that to sort of show him. It was very similar to what the darkness. Or the witness, I guess, did with us on the pyramid ship when we're shown the nightmares, but we're shown like these visions of our past battles that we've sort of done.
yeah.
You know what it reminds me of?
What's that?
This was I don't know how popular it was outside of the US, but it was one of those things. It was one of those like feel good books that was out for a while there, and my mom read it, and I think she got me to watch the movie with her, or like part of it or something. But it was like the whole premise of it was like these people you meet when you die and go to heaven. The way that the witness presents your triumphs or your defining moments. It can be, doesn't necessarily have to be like you winning, because like, Rhulk doesn't always win in those things he's reliving. It's about his in a lot of ways about what shaped his world, especially his view of his father, and
You
how
pended
that
his world.
yeah, and like fell apart and like shattered. And it reminds me of of that sort of presentation of like these one at a time, like, why are you making me do this? Or like in a lot of ways it's like the Christmas Carol, you know?
Yeah.
The Ghost of Christmas Past. The way that you know, and that is a running theme of the darkness of memory, you know, throughout the Hidden Dossier, and I think the campaign about how like memory and holding on really dominates the themes there. You know, like
yeah,
you know,
one of the
grudges and what have you. Yeah, sorry, Lucy.
I know one of the things that the ARG Hidden Dossier lore talks about is the traveler removes our memories to give us a chance to like forgive, so to speak, and grace, while the darkness holds on and festers and like once I guess is much more like angry, I guess, because like having those memories, yes, those, it's kind of like a trauma response, almost like you have like you go through these experiences and you like learn, oh, like you, like for example, there's a kettle and the kettle's, you know, it's hot, you learn, oh, don't touch the kettle when it's hot after you accidentally touch it once. I know this because like as a kid I literally did that because I'm stupid, but like that's like, you know, like you have that memory, so you learn from it and you like adapt and become better from it. But better doesn't always necessarily mean like good better. I meant like better as in like a more complete version. I don't know how to explain it, but basically like the darkness uses memory to like become a more to survive, yeah, and that's all about what the final shape is about.
I think, in a way, like, because they're sort of moving on from the darkness as a parable of force being evil and being more of a neutral force, but the witness and those who sort of wield it or embody it are, you know, the ones that are evil. And I suppose it's more it's like the balance and the force. It's like, you know, there's benefits to, you know, having these part, like you said, touching the kettle. You need to remember and learn. In order to learn from it, you need to remember it. But then there's also, you know, people who hold on too much to things, you can become cynical and bitter, you know. And so to a point, you have to kind of let go of the past. You gotta, like, you know, in order to be a healthy human being, you know, and navigate through the world, you need a balance of, you know, of remembering what the bad things that happen, but you don't want to hold onto them too tightly, because you need to still, I suppose that's what the Traveller does. The Traveller sort of gives people a fresh start, like gave, you know, Crow fresh start.
Yeah.
And it's interesting seeing Crow now that he's gotten his memories back. Like, it's sort of falling apart. you know what I mean? Like, really sort of dealing with these crippling guilt. You know.
It's impressive he's held on to his sense of self as Crow.
Yeah.
He lived longer as Aldrin, much longer, infinitely longer.
It is very interesting. But I suppose I'm not really sure how the memory was returned to him, because obviously he's got his own memories, but he made.
I'm thinking, I mean, yeah. What's interesting is in the, I think it's not the Quintessence, it's the, one of the other lore books. It's the, I'm gonna butcher how you say this, the Menesi, the ones you get from the Two Truths, Two Lies.
I googled that word the other day, and it's actually a Greek menacing. It's like a Greek god of memory.
Makes sense. Because,
Mnemonicine? It's like Johnny Mnemonic.
Okay.
What's funny? I'm sorry.
No, go on.
I was just gonna say it's really funny you mentioned that, because the theme of memory, psychometry, is that like classic comic book or like sci-fi power where you can like detect the memory of objects or people by touching them, or like however it works in the thing that you're reading. So the psychometer that we get in the collector's edition and the messages that it's able to read. I mean, those come from the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I actually understand how, like, all this red, because we've had a few different, like, those flavors of darkness presented to us. Like, we've sort of seen the deep side, the ability to sort of reveal things from memory, and then we've also seen this resonance power, which we're using to craft our weapons.
Yeah.
And then we've also seen some interesting talk, like I think it's the Osmiomancy law tab, which sort of talks about, it actually discusses more about the power to move beyond worlds, and how it sort of links the Taken with the with memory, and essentially it's like the past, future, and present sort of all converging onto one. And it says that Oryx was kind of limited in the way that he used that power, but that power could be used in many other ways. And one of the ways it mentions was moving a moon closer to the orbit, which I feel like was a big hint at what the Scions were doing. And so I feel like maybe we're going to learn a bit more about the Scions and their usage of darkness. But if you put it all together, I think the way I'm starting to understand it is that the darkness, we know, and I actually talked about this in Clovis Braves. He mentioned it when he did his studies of clarity, that it could essentially violate a scientific principle known as time reversibility. So it talks about like the cup that has water and like sugar in it, and then you mix it, and then it becomes mixed, and then after a while it sort of starts to, that is, so essentially time reversibility is that you can, if you play out something in time and you reverse it, it'll look exactly the same way. So an example where that doesn't happen is like crumpling a piece of paper. Once you crumple the paper, if you reverse it, every step that you did, you end up with something sort of different, and that's sort of the concept of entropy, whereas, which is sort of entropy, the idea that things become more chaotic as time progresses, and energy is wasted into the environment. So essentially what we as human beings are always trying to do is, which we're constantly in this war against entropy, because things are always devolving into chaos. So, if you leave your house for too long, eventually it's going to start getting into disorder, into disarray. So you have to keep putting energy in to try and stop that. No machine is perfectly efficient. You're always going to have some of that energy that's wasted. But the darkness seems to be different. The darkness can actually reverse things back to a former state, and then let it play again to have a different state. I think the Lord tab actually specifically mentions that. So what we're starting to realize is that time is quite important to the darkness, and the darkness does have the ability to kind of, in a way, rewind time, to rewind possibility, and try things a different way. And this ties into like the sundial on Mercury. We consider that's how it was used. That was actually very similar to what we saw on Mars, where there were aspects of Mars that were sort of in the past. So it makes sense that it would sort of use that it would have access to memory, because essentially it's a memory of the past is if it can bring you back to a former state, then it essentially has almost like a record of everything that you've done, and it can also manifest some of those things as well. Like we can see, we can manifest memories. We can manifest trauma as nightmares. So that was sort of linking that as well. So the way I actually see resonance and the deep sight sort of thing as kind of connected in a way, because it's the ability to manifest a new reality, so to speak, based on your memory. You can almost carve reality. Does that make sense?
Yes, and if it's all right, can I run with that? Because I think that's a good segue to something I've really been itching to talk about with both you and Lucy. And it has to do with stasis and that sort of memory and how it's applied with some of the stuff we learned from the hidden dossier.
Yeah. I'll read what a time crystal is. This is on Wikipedia. In condensed matter physics, a time crystal is a quantum system of particles whose lowest energy state is one in which the particles are in repetitive motion. The system cannot lose energy to the environment and come to rest because it is already in its quantum ground state. Because of this, the motion of the particles does not really represent kinetic energy like other motion. It has motion without energy. So, if you read the what is it? I have a mental blank right now. The dossier, when it's talking about stasis, the description that it uses is essentially unmistakably talking about a time crystal, which kind of makes sense because
Alright, so I found it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Please continue.
No,
I just
you
wanted
continue.
to let you know I had it. No, you continue. No, use please go. It's an appended file of Cowlick's analysis of stasis. So Cowlick the ghost.
Yeah, well, I don't have it in front of me, and so
I do.
Read the bit.
Here.
Yeah.
So appended file Cowlick's analysis of stasis. The stasis crystals aren't water ice, obviously enough, but I thought I'd get that out of the way. The extraordinary property of stasis is its ability to create ordered structures from chaos. It doesn't care what kind of matter is available. It just sucks entropy out of the system until it's got a crystal. The crystal's not exactly chemical. The normal electromagnetic interactions between atoms are suppressed in favor of something weirder, a bit like spin metal. Ooh. That was my ooh. That was an editorial ooh.
Mm-hmm. That's really
examination by...
Before you continue, they actually tell us what spin metal actually is in an older, I think it was the Shadowkeep Codes and Procedures. They'll continue, but they actually tell us exactly what it is, so it's quite interesting from a scientific point of view. But
I dig it.
Well, you continue.
I dig it. Oh, thank you. So examination by scanning and tunneling electron microscope plus X-ray crystallography and neuron diffraction, if we want to be exhaustive, revealed a highly ordered crystalline structure at the nanometer scale. Results included a lot of lens artifacts, so I had to resort to makeshift, tychography. But I've attached what I could see. As far as I can tell, we're looking at conventional baryonic matter. No rifled, I think that's it, right? Rifled? Yeah. No rifled virtual matter. Space-time at a true zero energy state. An excitation of some novel field, or, traveler save us from the Van Net theories, super external naked black holes masquerading as particles. Now, I am a little disappointed to discover that the super vacuum hypothesis is out. Quantum physics says it's impossible to know the exact energy state of a volume of space, and zero is an exact energy state. So it's physically illegal for a volume of space to have zero energy when observed. That's why we get random virtual particles popping out of the void. They're created and destroyed by the energy of emptiness. Some warlocks thought that if you carried out the impossible task of sucking all the energy out of the volume of space-time, nulling out even the 0-point fluctuations and achieving a true void, then you could achieve a physical regime where space and time themselves cease to exist. Instead, you'd get a space-time condensate, a superfluid vacuum capable of interacting with itself and generating structure. In this theory, the stasis crystals were a cold so deep that they froze space-time itself. It had a certain elegance, but either the true void does not exist or is not here attained. Or I'm misinterpreting this data. The crystalline structure of the stasis material is both spatial and temporal. It forms ordered patterns in 3 dimensions, and those patterns evolve over time without outside energy input. I've tried
time
I'm
crystal.
sorry. Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
I've tried bootstrapping several models, but when I compare the predictions to the actual behavior of the crystals, the R factor is always garbage. I don't have the equipment to open the Cabal-Yau manifold, the Calabi-Yau manifold, and peek at extra dimensions here. Sorry. Maybe I'd glimpse the paracausal truth of the darkness and start dividing in half until you had a planet full of cowlicks and truces all complaining. There's some funny stuff going on with the crystal structure, a long-range multi-particle interactions that may require paracausal interventions to sustain. The crystal also soaks up incident motion and energy, which converts into mechanical work. This is how these crystals form so rapidly, and why they're surrounded by such intense cold. Think of it like a nucleation event in a false vacuum. The crystals keep expanding because it's energetically favorable for it to do so, as long as the surface area to volume ratio is sufficiently high. Wow, this is getting a little longer. I think
the bit you're looking for is it the bit with the Vex?
Well, this is just explaining like kind of what it is. And I am going somewhere with this, but yeah, I think we got it.
Yeah, because I think
I don't know if we need to read it all.
Yeah, I think because then they talk about the fact that it's so ordered that it can actually act as a quantum computer, and it has almost a form of like quasi sentience, which in my mind is what they sort of needed to justify the Bleak Watcher and why the Bleak Watcher works. You know, it can turn around and sort of have a mind of its own, and then sort of alludes to the similarity with the Vex, and then I think we learned that that stasis, what the processes that were happening with stasis was essentially the same processes that happened when life started, sort of thing. Does that make sense? The darkness sort of alludes to the fact that, which we actually learnt in the Clovis Bray journals, that the darkness was actually, without the darkness we wouldn't have existed. You needed both the light and the darkness. So essentially it was like, you know, you can, if you think of like a big bang, right, you're pumping a lot of energy into the system, but then you need to cut back some of that energy. You know, to simplify, we do a very similar thing when we craft weapons. You know, you can put in, the light is like, I'm going to put in a bunch of metal and just put a chunk, but then the darkness is all about carving that, about shaping that, about stripping bits of it back. So the idea is that, and this is also why the distributory was born. Why you had a finger of light from the Traveller, and in a sea of darkness, and as that universe started to nucleate and the bubble started to grow, you know, the darkness sort of compressed it. So it was almost like how can I explain this? It's almost like two different forces, sort of, but you needed that in order for a universe to grow with sort of defined paths, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that I think you're picking up what I'm putting down. So the crystal structures being closely tied to symmetry groups that match the basis of reality, kind of like the end part of of Calic's report here. And so what I'm thinking is time crystals plus psychometry equals time travel. And what I'm thinking is that what the stranger has been doing this whole time has nothing to do with Vex technology. She's been using stasis. Mm-hmm. Both entries, both entries. Oh, hey, cat. Both entries where she's reliving points that she's gone back to have to do with her reliving those memories again.
Yep. And I think you're absolutely correct. I think you're spot on. I think that this whole time loop thing where she gets sent back, this to me is very, it is, whether it's stasis or not, it is definitely darkness related. It is definitely, because that's exactly what is happening. I mean, I just mentioned earlier that the darkness, and I have to find the law, there's a law that actually says this, that the darkness can essentially reset things back to an older state and then let it play out again. And I feel like that's what she is doing. So in a way, you know, she's almost using the darkness against the witness to try and find that one future where, you know, by reliving those experiences.
Absolutely. And I think that's crazy, but it really makes me wonder something about another person who seemed to be pretty good at wielding the stasis. Aramis.
Yep.
You know, she's not frozen because it's not ice. What if she just abandoned a failed timeline?
How so?
You know, like what if that's one of the ways? What if it's a cruder way, or what if it's a similar way to what Elsie has been doing, the stranger, and what Aramis did was go back in time. She went and she's in a splintered timeline now.
So you reckon Aramis is like basically doing the same thing, but for like what, the elixir? She's trying to find the one path where like the elixir you managed to take the traveler.
What if when she comes back? What if when she comes back with Elixir Guardians?
Well, it does seem like she is going to come back at some point. Like they've definitely teased that. I mean, she's still there in her. Yeah, I dig it. You've also got the Mask of Bacchus, which sort of showed some weird space-time shenanigans happening that seem to be affected by stasis, because you have to have a stasis subclass to use it. And you've also got the No Time to Explain, which creates that again. It sort of works with stasis and creates that little ball orb thing that basically rewinds your bullets basically. And
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I definitely think that. Yeah, I definitely think that's going to be the Darkness's jam moving forward, and I think we've all already seen it to a degree. So sure, I think it's certainly possible. I'm not sure how much. I feel like if that were the case, though, they would have talked more about Aramis in the dark future. Mind you, she did launch the bombardment, didn't she?
Yeah.
But then if that's the case, if she's in a splintered timeline...
Yeah, like she could win, and it wouldn't affect us, because we're not there. Not in that timeline. That's what makes me wonder, like, there's got to be all these countless timelines that Elsie went to where the darkness is just, like, off and winning, having a picnic.
Well, here's an interesting thing. The witness is the same in all of those timelines. So when you look at the witness, and it was quite interesting because you can sort of see in its movements, the movements of the witness's hands. It's almost like layers of the witness sort of moving all at once. You can sort of see some of them, some of the echoes of him sort of keeping up. There's actually, I noticed this because I was actually looking up, there's something called quantum superposition, and I noticed this because I was looking at a YouTube video of it, and in the YouTube video sort of had that same sort of look with the person in the middle and then sort of these faded versions to the side. So it was the idea of you as a person being in many different states, and with the witness, all of those states, all of those many witnesses converge into one. So it actually starts to make sense, and Rhulk actually picked up on this. If you read The Shattered Suns, he goes, he says something like, we wanted to save you, and he's like, we? Who are you? And he's like, we are your salvation, but in time we will be your witness. And you start to understand that the witness has actually become so powerful that he's been able to get power over all possible witnesses to the point where his will across many, like all timelines, if that makes sense. The Guardians are very different. The Guardians, we sort of have we split, I guess. There's many different versions, and who we are ends up being the one that goes down the path that turns out to be the correct path, if that makes sense. That's the whole idea of paracausality, is that, and it's kind of a play on the whole video game thing that, like, you have 6 billion people. I don't know how many people are playing Destiny, but we're all the Guardian, and we're all trying to do day one raid. But there's only one raid team that actually manages to get, so they're the ones that become the canon team, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And Praetus actually, when he's sort of stuck in that Vex stasis area or whatever, he's looking through this portal and he can see glimpses, and he sees the Traveler's Shard, and he's like, and he sees a Guardian. He says, the Guardian changes every time, but they're always doing this sort of, and I just sort of immediately when I read that, I thought, well, it's because, everyone, in a way it is like multiple timelines, but they're all sort of, there's moments where you converge. Like you tend to you converge in a darkness zone. That's why the darkness zone, there's less possibility. That's why when you wipe in a darkness zone, you wipe for real. And that's also touched in the lore as well. There's, I think, a guy who dies in darkness zone, and the ghost has to sort of, I think, wait till it gets out of the darkness zone in order to res him, sort of thing. But the witness really wants a single reality. He wants to narrow down all of those possibilities. He doesn't actually like the complexity that the light and the Traveler sort of brings. He wants to narrow it down to this final shape of reality, if that makes sense. And that's why the Taken are what they are, because they are essentially where they don't have any possibility. They are the same across space and time. They are just this. What I suppose what the witness sees is the perfect shape of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. What are some of your thoughts, Lucy?
About... Sorry, I was listening. It's just I got kind of lost, I'm gonna be honest. What
bit did you get lost in?
All of it. I'm lost in the sauce. I'm always lost in the sauce, dude.
Well, they say someone who has no sauce is lost.
Exactly. But no, I don't know. I just, like, stasis is interesting, I guess. But I don't know. I just always, in my mind, I'm kind of, I wouldn't say, like, the science of Destiny is very cool. However, I just look at the game and I'm just like, ooh, big explosions go burr. I'm very much a Titan at heart. Very much a Titan. Like,
According to your... You play all your characters quite evenly, don't you?
Yeah, I play them all evenly, but I do like... I am... With all of the day one raids and for like endgame content, I am the Titan of the group. So I've kind of learned to, I guess, love or embrace my inner Titan. I mean, my girlfriend says if I was rezzed as a guardian, I'd be a Titan, 100%. I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult. I'm like, are you calling me stupid? But then I remember there are smart Titans. Like Zavala is smart. He's a good tactician. There's lots of smart Titans. So.
I feel like Titans are... Yeah, that's always a misnomer that people say that Titans are... What was the word they say? Crayon eaters? But it's like...
Yeah, they say that Titans are dumb because all they do is they press the W key and they shotgun ape. I mean,
punch.
Titans are pragmatic. I feel they are.
Yes.
They don't get lost in the details. You're not usually going to find a Titan LettuceDifferent that buries their nose and tries to talk. They're more likely to be like, how is
they're
this?
more like leaders. They're like leaders.
Like, yeah, and they're like, oh, this time and interdimension stuff is pretty interesting, but how does that help us win? The war. How does that help us fight against the darkness?
Yeah,
and it became such a defining.
Yeah, definitely.
It became such a defining principle. You actually have a whole group of warlocks that the praxic warlocks that follow this philosophy. They're like, hey, we need to stop, like
messing around with
burying our heads in the books and trying to, we need to actually put some of this to use. We need to fight against the darkness. We need to start being more pragmatic about,
Yeah, well, the praxics,
like...
they're a little like, I would say almost too. They're like on the deep end. Like I think of it as like a spectrum. As like the praxics, they're on one end, and like would you say the Shadows of Yara are in the middle, because people thought they were super duper edgelords, but it turns out they're all about like that. I wouldn't say ballads. I mean, they're definitely more on the darkness side, but like
gray.
They're in like this grayish middle, and then there's Ulan Tan.
They walk the line, I suppose.
Yeah, Ulan Tan is all about symmetry, which makes me mad that we don't have like a faction that is the symmetry. Like, hello?
Yeah.
I think they got
all of the other
suppressed.
factions are gone. Hello? Give the the symmetry. Like, I ran Ulan Tan. I thought he was so cool in D1. And like what
Ulan
little
Tan is my man. I really want to.
Yes.
I'd like to. I don't know where they exiled him. I don't even know if he's still alive, but he was right.
We went to his grave. He's dead.
He's dead. He's because remember there's Ulan
we went
Tan's
to the
grave.
grove of Ulan.
Oh yeah, it's Grove. Yeah, I guess is it the Grove?
I thought it was the grave of Ulan Tan.
No, it's Grove.
It's like the Mandela effect is happening. I don't know what's real anymore.
Who's using stasis?
No, yeah, you're right. It is Grove. It is Grove, not Grave. I'm apparently this. I'm.
Truth is a funny thing.
It really is.
Okay, he is dead though.
According to the law,
He was interred with a legendary burial ring.
Oh yeah, his burial ring. Yeah, but just because he's dead doesn't mean he can't come back. If he's a guardian,
His grave maybe is in the grove. I don't know.
He might come back. I think that'd be pretty cool. I think some cool banter. I think there'd be a lot of cool banter between Ulan Tan, Osiris, and Toland. Just lock them in a room together. They're just blah 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 blah. That would be.
I just think Ulan Tan's got to be so pissed. Got to be so pissed, like the ghost of Ulan Tan, like not his ghost, but his ghost of Ulan Tan is got to be. Yeah, just be pissed. Like, so now it's cool to use both in balance, huh? Now it's cool. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like, the symmetry would be, I think, a perfect faction to come back. If the factions do come back, cough, cough, they should come back.
He was a guardian ahead of his time.
Well, that was the interesting
really
thing,
was.
because he was branded as a heretic, and I think there's a law that he says, like, you hate me because of the uncomfortable fact that... No, but also the uncomfortable fact that you realise that the only reason that, like, the darkness and all this exists is because of the light, and you may actually end up having to give up the light in order
To stop
actually...
the darkness. Yes,
Yeah.
I love
know-
that ship. That ship was probably
Do
one of
you
my
know
favorites.
what I just realized?
What's that?
Ulan Tan is Hannibal Buress. Why
What?
are you booing me? I'm right.
Yeah. Yeah. You might
Ulan
be onto
Tan is
something.
100% Hannibal. Like he's telling people the truth, and they're just like boo
Yeah.
abruptly. Sorry. Jokes aside, hold on. I have a cat.
So who would Toland be?
Toland? Toland would be an internet troll.
Toland is crazy. I feel like he... Yeah.
He would be. He might like actually be an engineer and have like a few degrees and be like pretty smart, but at the end of the day, he's just on the internet trolling.
I did like in the Callus fanfic, there's a bit where Callus talks about they reverse the Song of Death and they manage to resurrect Toland.
Yeah, they
Just
like
to-
invert the
just to let
Song
him
of
die.
Death. Yeah, they like invert the Song of Death to be the Song of Life. Or the Death Song. And then that brings Toland back to life and he's just grumpy.
Wait,
And
what?
I think-
What? Oh god, no!
Pretty much
Don't
he's like,
bring
"What are you doing, Bard?"
I'm just imagining like it brings just Toland back, not his ghost.
I think that's what happened basically, and then he's just carks it. Yeah. 'Cause- yeah. Interesting about Callus, by the way. In the Vox Obscura missions and seeing how he's sort of somehow pulling the strings. I've been wondering if Callus is going to end up being a disciple.
I think
That's our next episode.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
okay.
that's one of our episodes is we're going to talk about the 2 truths, 2 lies. And we have another episode about what it takes to be a disciple. And like cuz we know Mara is supposed to be one or was
A candidate.
a candidate.
A candidate.
We know Yeah, Savathun was a candidate. We know Rhulk was one. Maybe Aramis is one, maybe Callus is one.
It does open the door to a lot of things. I do also
Yeah, Aramis
wonder,
was one.
I do also wonder if this is a way that they're going to bring back Nezarek. Sorry, bring...
Ooh.
Ooh.
Because...
Yeah, there's a lot of things because they did say that sorry to cut you off, Lettuce, but they did say like a lot of people have kind of realized like this is why we have so many different accounts of what the hell was going on during the collapse is because like pretty much all of the disciples showed up in their pyramid ships and started wrecking house. So we got one guy over here using glaives and resonance, Rhulk, and we got another guy over here doing other crazy stuff that's completely different, and this other guy over here doing other stuff, and everyone's like, what's happening?
Yeah, and we also learned that Savathun was there, and she essentially tricked the witness into thinking that the Traveller was destroyed.
Pretty much.
I
Which
thought
is
that was-
really interesting. Yeah.
I wonder. Well, and shifting back a couple of gears to what you were talking about a few minutes ago, Lettuce. The witness kind of seemingly almost being like a timeline or a reality or dimensional, maybe depending on how you look at it, like spanner.
Yes.
Seems to be like kind of existing everywhere at once. I think the reason, even if he wins in those timelines, in those branches, it's not good enough because what he says at the end of his cutscene is he wants there to be like nothing. He like literally wants everything to just like stop. He's like Thanos, but like with the other 50% in mind.
Yeah, well, that's going to be interesting. I don't know. Because I don't think the final shape... I don't know if the final shape is necessarily nothing. I think, the final shape is essentially, I suppose, a civilization, that continues on uninterrupted, and it's like a perpetual motion machine. Basically, it's just keeps on running.
In this house, we obey the laws of thermodynamics. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Couldn't resist The Simpsons.
And what the darkness seems to do is my understanding of the darkness and the light is the light is essentially it's adding complexity and possibilities. It's adding like permutations. So, for instance, to illustrate the way Mercury was terraformed was essentially, or Venus and that, was essentially finding a timeline where that planet, where all the conditions were right for that planet to become a garden world. And then that reality is sort of brought into fruition. The same way with the Guardians, we're finding that timeline where we manage to succeed.
To win.
That's what,
Yeah.
to win, yeah. And what the darkness seems to do is sort of winnow that back. So kind of get rid of all the fluff and the things that it sees as undeserving of existence. With the ultimate result of what Callus sort of witnessed was when he went out, he just saw this perfect void of nothing where in that area, like, it's like not even the Big Bang had happened. You know what I mean? So I sort of see the darkness as this power to sort of, like I was saying earlier, to rewind things back to an earlier state, or in some cases even nullify it. It's like Rhulk said, they see themselves as saviors of existence. The witness, through its warped morality, it says no life, no death, enough. Well, here's the thing: you have life, you have death, unless you're the final shape, and then you prove your existence and you never die. So the way it sees it through this sort of twisted, sort of almost anti-natalistic logic is that existence is suffering. So by the traveller continually coming and giving a chance to the undeserving, it's actually causing suffering and ultimately death. So it sees, that's why he sort of tempts Rhulk and says, well, essentially, like, you were, and what you did to Lubre was inevitable. It was, and it is the traveller's fault, for bringing the pain, the suffering, and the stalkers and the regime. All of that happened because of the traveller, right?
You guys know what I just thought of?
What?
Thinking of the multiplicity of the witness.
Mm-hmm.
The traveler, if you well, let me start here. If you read if you get the ghost shell that you get from I think it's Completing All of the Shattered Suns booklet.
Oh yeah. I know the one.
You get a story of Rhulk trying to experiment with a ghost.
Yes.
And the traveler interrupts it. Well, I can assume it's the traveler because
Like
Rhulk
this
responds
one's
with
not for you.
adversary.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what I'm wondering is, if the traveler is in some way monitoring and able to interact through all the ghosts, I'm wondering if there's a similar multiplicity in the relationship between the ghosts and the traveler. Because the witness, the actors who portray it are both a man and a woman. So there's two voices being sort of like being played at the same time. You see all these different heads pouring out of its like ethereal
The
skull.
smoke head. Yeah.
And it refers to itself in a plurality. More than just it doesn't even it doesn't even acknowledge that it is a singular entity. So what I'm wondering is, maybe that's a similar thing. Maybe that's what the Traveler was more like before it released the ghosts. I say this because do you guys remember the lore, the Osiris lore, where Sagira sort of resets that other ghost from the Warlord?
Mm-hmm.
Like sending it back to return to the Traveler? I wonder if that was really the Traveler doing that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Have you read the We Before Us lore?
I think so, but why don't you tell us about it in case any of the listeners haven't?
Yeah, I can. It might be one actually to read, because this is actually, if you haven't read it, that's kind of alluding exactly to what you're sort of saying. I'll just read it. The We Before Us. I remember the moment we were born. There was pain and loss and a feeling of falling. Was this the end? The shadows gathered, coloured bruised purple-grey in our fading consciousness. And our is capitalised. Our shell cracked and splintered. Parts of us were lost or carried away. We felt those wounds jagged and sharp. We could feel them still, attached by a gossamer, thin strand of understanding. We felt a garden with no blooms, a valley shrouded in gloom. We felt ourselves dying. We didn't want to go. Then there I was, separated from the whole. I could feel it shrink, slip back into itself, dim and unseen. I knew it was waiting, resting, watching, considering. And I knew what I needed to do. Somewhere in this wide, amazing galaxy there was a person. They were quiet and dead like we had been. But I could bring them back. I could share what was inside of me, this glorious warmth and life and breath and being. Together, that person and I would do what the we before me, could not. I wrapped a spark, that was me, in metal and glass, a tiny bit of something that reminded me of the home we had shared. Then I set out to find my person, the keeper of light. There were so many people, so many fragile things decaying to dust, lost to memory. I touched each one, looking for something, a fragment of ember under the ash. I didn't find it. I know there is one person, only one that is mine. I've been to many planets, seen things I never knew were possible, hid from monsters full of dreams. I've seen others of my kind, the other pieces that were once us. Their search is over. They are complete, braver because they found their counterpart. I am alone. I know you are still out there, that you're waiting for me, but it has been so long and I am so very cold. I will rest here and think about us for a moment. Cold, where you. So it's talking about a ghost sort of finding, eventually at the end it finds its person, but the interesting thing about it was that the ghost is essentially an aspect of the traveller's consciousness, so to speak. So all the ghosts are basically bits of the traveller, if that makes sense.
That is sort of where I'm going with it, and it kind of lends to that I forget where it is off the top of my head, but I'll probably find it for the notes here. But Glint talks about them sort of being in this swirling mass of energy before the creation of ghosts. So that's a pretty cool one. That might have to be something we investigate, Lucy.
Maybe we should investigate that. Definitely.
Maybe we should. Guys, I have a little bit of housekeeping. If I can steal some time,
Real
quick. Let us. Thank you so much. You have made this. This is our 100th episode, and you've made it very special. So thank you.
Thank you
so much for being our guest. We had a little contest. And we have a sealed copy of the fourth Grimoire book, and we were, we have different ways to interact with us, and, people did. And so I drew some names at random. I'm happy to announce B-Boy Steve, who's actually been one of our longtime followers of the show. Like since we, way back from the long ago started in the before times. He's been an avid follower. So, Steve, you are our winner. Congratulations, and we'll be reaching out to find some place that we can, on us, but find some way to we can ship that book to you. So, congratulations, man.
Boggaroonies.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
And guys, with episode 100, we bring to a close season 2.
Yes. Ooh, spooky.
The Spinfoil Theory
Wow.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yep. From episode 101 going forward till we change again, we'll be in season 3. And we've gotten some exciting stuff for you, so
Season
be
3
on the
Electric
lookout.
Boogaloo.
I had to stop that. I had to. They had an intervention. They said, Taylor, you've got a problem. Many people. No one needs to make a reference to that movie, to that breakdancing movie, that many times.
Well, congratulations
not
on
healthy.
your 100th episode. I didn't even realize, but yeah, I feel honoured to.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been a wild ride, and we sincerely want to thank all of our guests, all of our listeners, and we're excited to see what season 3 brings for us. So yeah, thanks everyone. All right. Well, do you have any shout outs? You have any final thoughts on the topics of the evening?
Ooh. Shout outs. I'm gonna give a shout out to LadyLucida for
Me? Why me?
landing that job at Bungie.
Yeah. Oh,
Pretty
thank
cool.
you. Thank you. That's really
Congratulations.
nice.
It is very cool.
It is pretty cool. I still it kind of hit me this past week that I work at Bungie, which is kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
There was the game developer conference this week. I of course didn't go because I technically don't start until the next week. But one of the trending hashtags that was started by someone was hashtag what a game dev looks like. And I was like, this is cute, this is cool. Then I was like, wait, that's me. I'm a game dev technically. So I kind of used the hashtag to both post a selfie and both announce my start or my job. And a lot of people were really nice about it. A bunch of Bungie devs were like, yo, welcome to the team. This is so exciting. And what's really great is way, way, way back in, I think, 2019. I'm going to tell a little story here. I went to PAX West, and obviously Bungie was there because, it's in Seattle. This was way, way before COVID times. Before the Dark Ages, before the Empire. Sorry, I get distracted.
Times.
The old days
But-
were better.
But anyways, what ended up happening was, so Bungie had a booth there, a big booth. This was before Shadowkeep launched, right before. So they had Xenophage on display, and I was there with my friends, and I was super excited because the whole booth is run by Bungie devs. So it was I got to meet the people who worked on my favorite video game. And I always, whenever I go to conventions that Bungie is there, I always bring my Art of Destiny book. I have 2. I have the Destiny 1 one, and now the Destiny 2 one. And I had my Destiny 2 one with me because, Destiny 2. These people worked on Destiny 2. And I had it with me, and as I was standing in line, talking to the Bungies, I'd be like, hey, what did you do? What did you do on Destiny? They would talk about, what they did. Some people did visual effects, some people did the music, and then, what ends up happening is, I go through, I play, and, Xenophage is one of the options, and back then Xenophage would do crit damage. It was stupid. I loved it. I love Xenophage.
Really?
Why did
I
they have
did
to
not
nerf
know
him?
that.
This was before official release. This was in playtest at PAX. It did crit damage, and I think they were like, this might be a little too much. So they tweaked
Yeah.
it, of course, between then and official release. But I came out of I was like so excited. I was like, yo, that gun, when you had the big gun, you were going too, too, too. And one of the guys who was handing out the little like emblem codes, he was the sound designer for Xenophage. That was his first thing that he did at Bungie. Like, he was like a newer hire, and he was like so excited because I was excited. And then I was like, hey, and we kind of chit-chatted a little bit, and I talked a bunch to him about it, about like, you know, I want to work at Bungie. And he kind of told me how he got there through kind of like I wouldn't say like, he didn't like go to school to like be a game dev. He like did music and that sort of thing, and then eventually got to Bungie. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, it's so like, there's not like a one track to get there. And then there was also another QA guy who I ended up talking to. They both were very, very nice, and they both kind of helped me realize that like, even though, yes, I went to school for creative writing, I can still like, and my job at the time was, you know, NASA. So like, I could still work at Bungie. And he still works at Bungie, the audio guy. But what's crazy is he ended up writing a whole thread on Twitter about that experience because he was like so touched that some random Destiny person like talked to him and stuff. And I was like, that was me. That was me. Like, I found that thread, and I actually have it bookmarked because like it's because he ended up, so one of the things, like, I ended up finding him on Twitter and finding the thread and messaging him about it. And one of the things he said, because I talked about like, oh, what I currently do and that sort of thing. And one of the things he said, it's still in my head to this day. And he's like, you'll be at Bungie soon. Just you wait. And now here I am. Like, that's so crazy. And I actually reached out to him like this past week, and he still remembers me. Which is like so crazy. Like, that was so long ago, and it's just like, I'm just so excited. Like, everyone is so nice, and I'm excited. I'm a little nervous. I'm nervous.
It's gonna be awesome.
Honestly,
I have like a bajillion meetings on Monday, but I'm excited for meetings. Oh boy.
I think what's so good as well, ladies, because I remember I was speaking to you in our secret law chat.
Yeah.
And you were saying, because I know that your contract at NASA was about to expire, and you were sort of really, you didn't know what the future held, and it's just so nice to see that
everything kind of lined up. Yeah.
And honestly,
it's really nice.
I think they couldn't have hired a better person to
Oh,
fill that
thank
job.
you. That's great. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited, though, because hopefully I can... Because everything's on Teams and you can kind of talk to whomever, I'm going to just awkwardly say hi to the narrative team and be like, hi, here's 20 pages on Hive runes. Here's 20 pages on Hive runes. Bye! Awkwardly not walk away, but, like, left on read.
Well, could you imagine if they're like... So, we're going to take you, lady, to our Hive room department, and it's just like this underground Men in Black style building. Just like...
That would be funny. That would be great.
Just like you'd see the boardroom, there's just like Hive rooms on the wall, and the entire team just like discussing it.
That would be the dream, man. That'd be the dream, yeah.
Market research has shown that...
Did you see a 1-to-1 like alphabet and character builder?
No.
the Holy Grail, the Rosetta Stone.
They've all been words this whole time. Pizza is literally just pizza.
No, please, no, it's nightmare fuel. Please,
it's actually just food groups.
It's just the food groups. No,
just because the Hive is so hungry.
Those are all the things they tried to eat before they got to light.
Yeah.
I see. That makes sense.
That's the truth. That's actually the truth of how they became the Hive. It wasn't the worms, it was the witness. It was just, they were just really hungry.
They were just really hungry, you know? That's a mood, honestly.
And I'm so glad for them now that their worms are sated, because maybe they'll have time to like cook and prepare their food.
Yeah. Cooking with
Sabbath.
Maybe we'll get a Sabbath themed recipe book with like Hive.
That would be fun.
I would buy that. I would totally buy that.
We do have a Destiny.
Exclusively made with egg whites.
Oh no.
Moth soup.
I love it.
KFM, Kentucky Fried Moth.
No, stop,
Ooh.
stop,
Sorry.
stop, stop.
Too far.
No,
Ooh.
too far,
What is
too
it? What
far.
is it? The chocolate covered krill? The little ants. Just pop them.
Instead of meatloaf, it's worm loaf.
Mm-hmm.
You guys
Yeah,
are
we've
horrible.
already seen what a worm looks like
Please.
cut into pieces.
Please, stop.
Yes,
No.
that was actually just Rhulk's culinary cooking with Rhulk.
Cooking with Rhulk, oh god. I
This
mean,
is-
his head looks kind of like a chef's head anyway.
Like a chef's,
There you go.
yes, and maybe he
Yeah.
uses like resonance powers to cook.
Perfectly cook
Yeah,
the
he just,
food. It's
like-
perfectly cooked.
Yeah. By the way, we never talked about luster.
That was
We probably didn't talk about
Whoops.
half the stuff we wanted to talk
we
about.
were going to. Whoops, we just.
But it's
took a
alright.
tangent.
It's alright. Maybe we might.
You
have
can
to
always
just-
come back next time. You
Yeah,
can come back
yeah.
next time.
Yeah.
There you go.
Gotta do it. Oh man. Well, yeah, and yeah, I know you've heard me say it to death, Lucy, but congratulations.
Oh. Thank you. Thanks. You guys are so nice. I'll let everyone know in the secret lore server how my first day went. I'll let everyone know.
Awesome.
I'll put it out to the universe.
Love it. Love it.
I'm sure you'll do
I'll be
great.
rooting for you.
I'm excited.
Man, this has been a fun one. We were chatting before we started recording, but we're approaching 2 hours. This is pretty cool. It's been a lot of fun. Really
Nice.
organic. Thank you for coming back again, Lettuce. My shout outs this week are to all our guests, all our listeners, everyone who's stuck with us and has let us know that we're doing stuff that makes people happy.
Yeah.
Shout outs to you. Thank you. It really means the world to us. Thank you so much. And I just really can't wait to show you guys what we're doing with season 3. I think you'll really dig it.
Heck yeah. I'm excited.
I can't wait.
All right. Well, everyone, I think that's going to wrap it up for episode 100 here. We'll see you next week. Stay hydrated.
Yippee-dippers.
Check out. We'll have a link to his profile on Reddit. Check out Lettuce's articles. They're fantastic.
Have a good cup of coffee before you sit down.
Yeah, have a cup of coffee before
Yeah,
you.
make sure you're nice and hydrated, and maybe do some stretches so you're good for sitting. Take care of yourself, and then expand your mind. But all right, everyone. Until next time, stay safe. Bye-bye.
Doodles.
See ya.
Hats off, Guardians. That's it for this week's discussion. Have any questions or comments about this episode? You can reach out to us on Twitter @SpinfoilTheory or write us an email at spinfoiltheory@gmail.com. If you'd like to read our show notes, check out articles, listen to past episodes, and more, be sure to pay us a visit over at our website, spinfoiltheory.com.
The Lore Network.